Good afternoon. As you saw, injury-wise, we ruled Bates out and Hicks out for the concussion and ankle for this week. Keenan was added, rolled his ankle out there, so we pulled him partway through practice, but we don't think it's severe, and we're hopeful for the game. So that's where that is. Again, but he's listed right now as questionable. DeAndre Swift came back today in a limited fashion, and he looked good out there, so it's good. And the rest of it is where it is right there. Prep was good this week. The guys did a nice job. Obviously, defensively, the Vikings create, a situation in terms of protection, fronts, variation, coverage variation. And I talked on Wednesday about it being manageable and effective. And I thought the guys did a really good job the last couple of days. And again, perfecting the plan is an ongoing process. And I told the guys that we're going to have to have elite communication during the course of this game on offense and defense, and the kicking, and always have our eyes forward and as we move through the game. So it's going to be, a contest like that. It's important that we have that mindset going into it and set that mindset here in this 48-hour preparation. So with that, I'll take questions.
Coach, you walked through a lot of different pressure packages at Caleb throughout the summer, just trying to get him ready for these things. He mentioned it being kind of a process for him, and I think he's gotten better at it throughout the year. Where do you think he is in terms of pre-snap recognition, but then finding those answers post-snap?
Yeah, I think he's good for where he is in his career. He's got a handful of games under his belt now. He's looked at a couple of various defenses, including ours during training camp, and I think he's growing every week. And this defense does give you some looks and different things, and I think that, like I said, the manageable and effectiveness of that, the things that we have built in, the alerts that we have on those particular calls, I think are good. And again, it's about communication and execution now.
Matt Flores is one of the Belichick guys that has gone on and done very well. Do you see the connection? Do you see that in his background? Do you see similarities between the two?
Yeah, for sure. You can definitely see it. You can see it in the fronts, for sure, the way they utilize their fronts. Very similar to what New England used to do. And the coverage variation has changed a little bit over the course of his time in Minnesota. That's adjusted and changed. But that's what you have to do in the NFL. You have to adjust and change, and he's done that.
He said the other day that it's hard, there'd be no way to get tendencies from seeing one game of how Thomas called the offense last week. Is that something you feel you could use to your advantage?
Yeah, I do. Because, like I said on Wednesday too, I said that you only can defend what you see. And so I think you can play off of those looks and do a good job of being creative and putting our guys in position to, create their own plays in space. And I think that's an important part of any game plan.
What's something specific that you want to see from Caleb? What is a specific skill or aspect of the game that you want to see him improve on over these last 7 games as part of his overall career development?
Just being able to take the game plan that's in place and execute that at a high level, and then also have the adaptability and understanding that you have to move the game plan during the course of the game and be able to make those adjustments. And I think this is a great game for that. And again, that's going to be out through the whole rest of the year. But when you do that as a quarterback, as an offense or a defense, that's when you're really humming. And I think that's a big part of having success.
Why specifically, if I can follow up, why specifically is this game a test of that for you? Is it
just because of the
unpredictability?
Yeah, just because of the variation that you get, front coverage and personnel. And I think that's what the challenge is this week.
Matt, is Jonathan Owens starting for Hicks?
Yeah, Jonathan's doing a really good job in there. And he started several games last year. And so he's familiar in terms of, being in that role. And he's done a good job communicating with Kevin across and everybody else in the secondary.
Have you spent any extra time this week just trying to focus on the mindset of guys, making sure everyone is moving forward just after the stretch that you guys have been in?
Yeah, that's when you're on this, the adversity that we're on right now. That's always you have to be mindful of that as a head coach and where the temperature of the team is, where everybody's mindset is. And all you can do is look at work patterns, and guys have done a really good job coming in on Monday, understanding where we are, working into Tuesday, Wednesday, and the guys did an awesome job in terms of that. And I just give all the credit to those guys because they are a resilient bunch, and they come out fighting and swinging every single time. So they did it this week too, and really good week of practice, and we'll see where it goes from here.
Darnold had one of his more efficient games this past weekend, Sam Darnold.
Yeah.
Just based on the last like 2 games before, I think he had 5 interceptions. Are they doing something different? Did you notice watching the Tennessee film if they were putting him in different positions to make those turnovers more obsolete?
Yeah, I just think as a quarterback, you get different, structures and different things that you see, and to compare those games is like way different. I believe because the two teams he played before were way different structures than he played last week. So they have a different set of answers, different set of plays, different set of you know contours they're looking at and space they're looking at to get the football, and that's no different. So I just feel that last week he operated well, and again the 2 weeks before operated under where they want to, and I think it's a variation of reasons for that.
I know he's not like the most. He's made jokes about like not being the most athletic, but he can be a little dangerous scrambling. Like, how do you have to account for that?
Yeah, I think he's really effective at doing that. He scrambles a lot for first downs. He can get out of trouble, and I think he's really worked his body in terms of being the body comp. You can see he's looks thinner, okay, and it looks more athletic to me. So I think he's always done a good job of that, but doing a good job this year as well.
Matt, we saw in that game Sam was able to climb the pocket a bunch of times to avoid sacks. So as the defensive line, what do you guys need to do to take advantage of that when he does eventually?
Yeah, you have to do that. It's 4 = 1. We got to do a really good job with our pass rush. We worked really hard at that. Eric's done a really good job with Travis and Bang to be able to work that into our game, and it's going to be a big part of the game plan. And it always is. Your 4-man rush is always going to be big, and then when you pressure, it's got to be effective.
What are the consistent threads you see in Kevin O'Connell as kind of an opponent for you individually? You faced him just in the 3 years here. You faced him when he had a veteran quarterback. You faced him last year when he's just trying to patch it together, and now they're in another new situation with Sam Darnold. What is the book on facing Kevin O'Connell?
Yeah, you can see the system there. The system they believe in, and that brought over from the Rams for sure. You can see that tree. But you could also see a guy that's adaptable and adjustable and very creative the way he calls the game, and that's why he's had success.
Coach, last year it seemed like the way that the Bears offensively chose to attack Minnesota was more horizontal, lots of screens and things like that. I know why. Are there other ways to attack those pressures and exotic looks?
Yeah, I think you have to have other ways to attack Herb. I really do. You got to attack the whole part of the field, the vertical side of it, the inside vertical side of it, and the outside edges, and the short part. And I think that's your creativity and your answers have to go into all those spaces. And I think that's when it's harder to defend, in terms of on defense. And we have to have all those answers.
Thank
All right.
Thank you.
Thanks, man.